Ah, horse shit!
Ghosts and Goblins is not for everybody. It's a brutally difficult series that's been pissing off players since 1985. These games require hours and hours of dedication to memorize levels and hazards. You're not supposed to beat a G&G game on your first try. If you do, you're either superhuman or a cheater. Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection is the 6th game in the series and the first to be released in 15 years since Ultimate on the PSP. I don't count the mobile games and neither should you. Resurrection, as the title suggests, was intended to be a reboot for the series, even bringing back series creator Tokuro Fujiwara to design and direct it. It seemed like a recipe for success, but sadly I think if this was the best Capcom could do, I think they should have left Ghosts and Goblins slumber undisturbed. I'm not gonna waste your time with the usual review shtick here. I only like giving that treatment to the games that I think deserve it. The bottom line is that I find G&G Resurrection tedious and unenjoyable to play. And judging by the extremely low percentage of players that have beaten the first level, I'm guessing I'm not the only one that feels that way. Let's start the list. Number 1. Slow walk speed. You'd think with a stride this big that Arthur could pick up the pace a little. This is what happens when you bring a franchise into the current era without considering the difference a modern widescreen perspective makes. Having Arthur move slowly in the old games made a lot of sense because you needed time to react to threats, but that's not so much an issue here when you can see so much more of the screen. I'm not saying the game is easier for it, far from it, but there are plenty of occasions with long stretches of land that just beg for a run button instead of this slow jog. I mean, hell, I think Arthur actually moves faster in the original NES game. This becomes a real problem on certain bosses. You move so slow that the only way to avoid attacks is to know about them beforehand. You're not reacting to attacks and skillfully dodging them, you're having the thought process of, the boss did this, so I have to do this. You're not playing Mario 3, you're playing the card matching game. Look guys, I'm really good at remembering things. Number 2. No double jump. I think it was a massive step backward to not have the double jump here. Instead, you get a jump with a very limited horizontal range, making some tight jumps especially irritating to make. If this was supposed to be a modern reboot for the series, why not implement all the best mechanics from the old games? If the idea was just to emulate the original title's gameplay, I think that was a mistake since it's undoubtedly one of the weaker games in the series. Number 3. Ineffective Attacks. This is one of the design choices that seriously irritates me. Most bosses and a certain notorious enemy have states where they can't take damage. In the case of bosses, this is never done to make the fight more interesting, it's done just to make it take longer. Satan doesn't want you attacking him unless he's charging up an attack, otherwise he'll just waste your time blocking everything you throw at him. Beelzebub doesn't want you attacking him from directly underneath because I don't know why. He just turns into an intangible cloud of flies and fucks off to the other side of the screen. It's okay though, I figured out a way to cheese him using the chest that spawns. Cerberus, besides being a pain in the ass fight with unavoidable attacks if you're unlucky, has multiple invincible states where he just stands there and howls. He'll do this like 4 times before the fight is over. It's not even an attack, it's just a pointless waste of time. This rock dragon has a tedious section where you have to ride on his back until you reach the boss arena. The game makes you think you can damage his head so you can have something to do while waiting, but I am very certain that it doesn't do diddly squat. It's a fucking lie. And you have to go through this every time you die on the fight. What a pain in the ass. Here's the worst example. These red devils have always been a pain in previous games, but if you jumped around and spammed enough, you could get some pot shots in and take them out without ever putting yourself in harm's way. The point is, they've never been invincible, until now. Now they can only take damage during their swooping attack. Otherwise they'll just dodge, or attacks will pass right through them. Look at this. I'm still hitting him despite his dodges, and nothing. This is absurd. God, I hate playing this game. Number 4. The spell system feels tacked on and underdeveloped. I came into this game with the way wrong impression. I caught a glimpse of the skill tree, yeah, it's a literal tree, and thought I'd really get to customize my experience, like increasing the drop rate for gold armor, or getting a triple jump, or maybe a shield. Well, if you're expecting cool stuff like that, then go and play Ultimate on PSP, because these spells are pretty bare bones. Oh, god damn it, I just realized that was a pun. A bunch of slots are wasted on linear upgrades that barely make the spells any more interesting. Do you want to turn every enemy on the screen into frogs? Well, now you can really turn every enemy on the screen into frogs. I'm not saying the spells aren't useful. I actually found myself cheesing through some attacks by abusing the invincibility while casting it. But for a game where memorizing stuff is the main draw, why, for the love of fuck, are the spells on time-based cooldowns instead of a charge system? This is one of the dumbest choices Capcom could have made. Instead of giving players the interesting decision of choosing when in a level is the best time to use one of their limited spell charges, or even saving attack spells to dump on the boss, nope, just time-based cooldowns, and very short ones at that. There is no reason not to abuse this system, except for on bosses because, surprise surprise, most of the spells are completely useless against bosses. Number 5. Bad music. The music is just bad, and naturally, because this is a game where you die a lot, you end up hearing the same parts over and over. I think this could be the first time I muted the music on a game due to it being irritating, and I truly cannot stand that boss music. Number 6. Archaic and annoying level design. Riding on slow-moving stone dragons for most of a level is not fun. Going back and forth up ladders to ascend in the Crystal City is not fun. What is this, Hotel Mario? This moving platform in the graveyard just decides to not travel the full distance to the left on its first rotation, leading pretty much anybody that first tries this to their death. Lighting and putting out torches to be able to see dark and light enemies? Well, let me tell ya, it's fucking irritating and I want to staple somebody's nutsack to their fucking forehead!
But don't rattle me bones! Rattle me bones. You can...
I'll never play this game again. I probably would have refunded it if I hadn't gotten it for a few bucks cheaper on a site other than Steam, but at least I got to put out this video where I can share my frustrations. It's certainly a far cry from the usual positive stuff I put out. What's the opposite of gushing? We'll be getting back to some quality gameplay next time with an amazingly charming and fun game that I got during this year's summer sale. But until then, this is A Skeleton, signing out.